Hi everyone, this is Khujasta Ahmadi. So today I'm going to be explaining the board function of our tic-tac-toe game, which we developed in Java. So as we move down here, there's this board function. Basically, what it does is it prints out three different boards using three different arrays. That the first one being array by the name an array by the type of string, and the name is A, the same type but the name is B, and the same type but the name is C. So this function, it first prints out the level number, which is level 1, and then it prints out the board, which is in accordance to that level. So since we have used arrays here, what we do here is that we print out the structure of the board with dashes and pipes, but then what we do is we use the string name along with the indexes. This is row 1 and column 1, and as we move down we do the same thing here. For level 2 we use the string array B, and we use the indexes in the same way. And for the third board, which is for level 3, we use this array C, and we do the same thing for the board. Basically, why we do this is because every time a level is called out on, the user is prompted to enter an output for the row and the column they want to choose to put their mark on for the game. So in order for the levels to have no confusion, or for the user to have no confusion while inputting the values in the program, to not have any problem while reading the values, we separated these levels into three arrays. So for each level the inputs are separate, and each level is accessed separately. And that's about it for my part.
This is Shahim Nadery, and I'm going to explain the get move function of our project. So for this project, when a player wants to play the tic-tac-toe game, we want them to input the coordinates of the cell that they want to place their mark on. For that, we need this function. So what this function does is it will output for the user to select a row, and once the user inputs the value, it will check if the value is valid or invalid. For that, it will check if the value is between 1 and 3, or the length of the matrix of this project. So if it's between 1 and 3, it will be okay. If it's not, then it will give a message, an error that will ask for the user to input again until the input is correct. Once the input for the row is correct, it will take the input for the column. So the user will again choose the column, enter the value, and it will check if it's between 1 and 3, and if it's not, it will give an error. If it is, then it will continue. Once it is okay, then it will also check if the coordinate that was chosen already has a mark on it or not. If it has, it will give an error and ask for the user to input the rows and columns again. If it's not, then it will continue. And at the end, it will give a value based on the turn of the player. So if it's player 1, it will print an X on the board. If it's player 2, it will print an O on the board. So this was the get move function, and that's it. Thank you.
Hello there everyone, this is Matloob speaking, and I'm here to explain the check on function for the tic-tac-toe game. So for this function we have an array that checks the different levels of tic-tac-toe, level 1, 2 and 3, and goes through it through this switch statement inside the for loop that iterates the I integer from 0, 1 and 2, which is less than 3, for different levels. Inside this for loop we have a nested for loop that with integer j, which skims through 0, 1 and 2 for the array values of the matrices. Inside the for loop we have boolean expressions which checks if the condition is true or false. For the first one, a horizontal one, it checks for player 1 if the inputs of player 1 x have been put on vertical matrices where the player can win. So for the player X to win, his inputs or her inputs should be on places where the horizontal matches all of them have X values. So um, that will make a so for the integer j. J is actually variable, so for each j that we have, so it starts from 0 here and it goes through the loop as 0, 1 and 2 every time that checks a horizontal or vertical condition for the x and o inputs. So for the first one, j here is 0, so it checks for the level loop string if j 0, 0, 0, 1 and 0, 2 is true. So if we have x inputs at these positions in our matrix, this Boolean expression will turn true and then it will print here in this if condition that player 1 wins if the inputs are all x. The same thing happens when all the vertical values and input values in the matrix are all x. So here we have the columns that are variable through the for loop. So here for the first one the column value would be 0, 0 and 0, and we have 0, 0 here and 1, 0 here and 2, 0 here. So for each vertical value x, if the condition is met, the Boolean expression turns true, and then inside the if condition it checks if the horizontal or vertical, so either of these, if either of these are true, either of these conditions are true, it will print for x inputs, it will print player 1 is the winner. Otherwise, if it checks that the inputs are O for the same conditions, then it will print that player 2 is the winner. So this is the condition to check the horizontal and vertical inputs of the tic-tac-toe game. Below down here we have an if condition for the diagonal checking of winning conditions. So here we have put for x inputs, which means player 1, the level loop should be 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, which makes the first diagonal or it should be 0, 2, 1, 1 and 2, 0 here. So for each diagonal since we have put an or logical operator, so for either of these conditions it will print that player 1 is the winner. The same thing happens when the inputs are O for player 2. So it checks the same condition again, and it checks if either the inputs are for player 1, which is X, or player 2, which is O. So if the conditions become true for either of the player, it will print that that player is the winner. So if it's O, the player 2 wins. If it's X, player 1 wins. So that's how the check win function works. Thank you.
Shallow waters never meant what I needed. I'm letting go a deeper dive. Eternal silence of the sea.